Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to BCB Live. You have Sir Rick, and we're going to begin this show with this episode being brought to you by Clorox, that always reminds you to use a little bleach when you wash your whites. Drive Safe Dave.
This was never a white shirt.
Drive Safe Dave at once had a white shirt on that he washed with colors. Now we come with I'm not sure what that is. It's not quite pink and it's not quite salmon. I'm telling you, it's the effects of washing it with colored clothes.
No, I don't. Not at all. Actually, this is what we call a pastel, and I am wearing a pastel pink. And I'm sorry that the muted color that it is. I mean, it's not a wash experiment gone wrong. It is the color in which you purchase it.
Is it?
Yes, it is.
All
now
right.
I know it's stretched a little because
we're not talking about the stretching. How was that 4th of July, sir?
I had a good time. Didn't do a whole lot yesterday, but
Just another day then.
Huh?
Just another day.
No, I enjoyed some time with my wife. And then, got some things done around the house. I actually fixed a shelf. I put a shelf up in the guest room. I did some stuff like that. But this weekend, I spent time with my family.
Well, good deal, man. That's what the 4th, a lot of that 4th is about. Yesterday being the 4th of July, the birth date, per se, of the country. And, we really don't know if that's true or not. That's the exact date it was. But, Dave, what were your...
Excuse me? How are you not sure that was the exact day that we ratified the Declaration of Independence on the 4th? How are we not sure that's what we did?
Well, you have Christmas that we think is around that time, and I think the 4th of July is a lot like Christmas. It's the day we celebrate, Drive Safe.
Not at all. It is a moment in history. D-Day's pretty solid. I mean, there's some things in current history in which we pretty much know the date. We actually have a pretty good historical recording, and I'm going to go with 1776, July 4th, is the day in which we ratified the Declaration of Independence.
You know what? Happy birthday, America. How old are we?
We are 200 and...
Fact check this right now.
80,
Somebody fact check this. How old, Dave?
286?
I'm asking you. Are you asking me?
Is it 286? Yeah, it's 286.
Wow. Good job.
286.
Well, that's my guy there. Good job on the random facts. Did you even look it up? Well, why would you agree with him? I mean, I asked you to fact
Wait a
check him.
minute. You might be right.
I just said, what did he?
I had added 40.
You know what? He looked
246.
at you and he
246.
I saw his eyes going like
I
this,
don't
hypnotizing you back there. He's got the computer back there. His job's to fact check.
246. Sorry,
And he
my math sucked.
agreed with you.
My math
So
messed
you're off
up.
again. Again, I thought it was too good. I was a little
246.
shocked. But
Get
then
out of here. All right, dude. Anyway.
I'm just impressed you got the producer to agree with you. I'm telling you, man, that hypnotized, that off.
I didn't carry the number right in the brain. I didn't carry
And supposedly it's the real date. Supposedly the real date. Hey, Drive Safe Dave. Listen, with the 4th of July comes July. It's a hot summer. It's a hot mess. And it was hot July 1st down in Florida. It was so hot that we had a friend of ours out streaking on the highway in Florida, running with a thong on. Had a pair of shoes on, though. I'll give it to him for that.
And then took off.
Concrete's hot. Concrete is hot.
And then took the thong off and jumped on a lowboy and decided to go for a ride down the freeway. There were several pictures on the internet. We have gone ahead, since this is a family show, we have blacked out the unneeded scene.
There was more than one picture. There was like 3 pictures on this thing. I mean,
Yeah.
come on
Well,
now.
some were a little
Who's doing the backup this, and we just have one shot in the same
By
thing?
the way-
Give me 3 or 4 different shots. This is a news channel, Drive Safe Dave.
There's some things we don't show. There's some incidents.
But he was. He was running down. I obviously some kind of mental health issues on that. Again, as we talk about it is serious. If you find yourself at all craving to run down the street with a thong or without a thong.
Yeah, nude ride is not what is going on. I don't think it's necessary out on the interstate. By the way, it's dangerous. No seatbelt. I mean, you really want to, whenever you're in a vehicle, you want to
didn't
make...
strap himself on either,
He
You're going
didn't.
to do that, strap yourself on. You know what?
Throw a chain over it. Get a turnbuckle on it.
You got to do all that. Hey, Drive Safe. So this morning I was coming in. I sat down at the conference room, in the conference table, opened up the Fort Worth Telegram, since my Wall Street Journal didn't come today. It's like, you know what? We'll just give you the Fort Worth one. Anyway, open that up to the funnies. And it made me immediately think of the Far Side, because I haven't looked at the funny section forever.
I thought that was
I'm all about business right now. So everything I look at is about business, about the economy, and all that. And I open it up, and here it is. It's still pretty funny stuff. The Far Side. Do you remember it all, the Far Side comics?
Absolutely. I used to have the calendar on my desk.
Was there anything? I'm saying they were just like full of one-liners.
Oh yeah.
Pretty funny stuff. I put a few on there just to get a little giggle on Tuesday from us. If you can, producer, I put more than one up there. Can you show us a few of these? Here's the first one. My favorite one's right here. And now Edgar's gone, something's going on around here. This is the Far Side humor right here. The big polar bear sitting there with his beak on, eating them up one at a time. All right, next one. This was, not the funniest thing, but it's, we always got the, the magnifying glass that would burn ants, and here it is, we have, if there was any such thing as,
he's a kid. Hey, are you messing with do you have
humans?
to mess with every organism?
Yeah, and here he is, burning up the ice house, using that. So anyway, igloo, there you go. All right. This was pretty. Anthropologists, they're putting up their lamps and their TVs, everything, taking it all and hiding it again. Just little funny one-liners. One more for me. All right, this is pretty funny. I think it's a little deep for you though, Drive Safe Dave. He goes, "Dang, this guy's on to me. I've got to get rid of him." And they're doing the shell game.
One shell.
Yeah, one shell. All right, that's my comedy for today. Tomorrow, Drive Safe Dave, we're going to dive, though, into a little bit of that freight review. Not a lot happening yesterday, right? We'll find out a little bit what's going on today.
Holiday. We'll fire it up.
It's Tuesday. Did anything happen? Is anything moving? What's going on with the fuel prices? So much we're going to talk about as we begin to look at what we see happening this week, Dave. But really, we're going to try to get ready for next week. Next week's hopefully a big week, right? It will definitely be bigger, more shipments than this week. A lot of freight probably still sitting on the docks that didn't get picked up.
Yep.
We're going to see freight getting picked up. Not a lot of tenders probably going out this week. On a Tuesday, Dave, a day after a Monday holiday, a 4th of July holiday, in which a lot of barbecue is going on. Dave, a lot of people aren't, the machines aren't quite ready to start producing. Right?
No, the production facilities aren't back online. Most of the stuff that they had on the dock, they tried to get off before the end, and they're trying to build back up inventory to send out shipments. I think it may take, next week, really, before we see a huge jump in freight.
And hopefully we see that huge jump. I don't think we're going to see the huge jump. We're going to see probably a downward spiral like we saw after Memorial Day. I think this is one that here is to stay though until maybe August. So we're gonna mid-August, not even early, not August 1, nothing like that. We're gonna see what's gonna happen. We'll have some predictions and some case studies done by Drive Safe Dave on the freight. Coming up next, we do have an interview. It's not Big Ed. It's what do you call it? Is he bigger than Big Ed, or is he little than Big Ed?
He's New Ed.
Medium-sized Ed.
Yeah, he's
Medium Ed. Coming up next on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
This segment has been brought to you by Utility ProWear. Utility ProWear manufactures high-quality, ANSI-certified, high-visibility apparel for both men and women. Infused with the Teflon fabric protector, Utility ProWear gives you the added benefit of providing a barrier to liquids, dirt, and grime, keeping you cleaner longer, brighter longer, and therefore safer longer. Get your high visibility apparel by going to utilityproware.com. Use the code BCB20 at checkout for an exclusive discount.
All right, welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. With us today is Big Ed Burns. He found the fountain of youth, and all of a sudden he's younger Ed Burns. You know?
That what is that stuff? That formula for men? What is that? Able to get it darkened up. No, you look good this morning. How you doing this morning, Ed?
I'm doing great. How are you guys doing?
All right, so Big Quake, let's go ahead. First of all, congratulations. Congratulations to the new father.
We told your dad last week or the week before, pre-congratulations. We felt it coming. Baby boy or baby girl?
Baby girl.
Oh, yeah. There's a heartbreaker. It'll
Oh,
get you.
she's beautiful.
Gotta give us some stats real quick before we move on. What are the stats? How many pounds? How many ounces?
She came in pretty big, about 22 inches long, 9 pounds, 5 ounces.
Wow.
Yeah, and absolutely perfect.
Wow, amen.
Nice.
Awesome, man.
Nice.
Congrats on that. Talk to us. Long nights yet, or is she sleeping throughout the night?
There's no sleeping throughout the night right now, but it's so worth it. You know, you pick up this little bundle of joy, and it's okay. Who needs sleep when
And you
there's
know
coffee?
is there a better way into a customer than using the new baby gig?
Yeah.
You know what? Great strategy. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's why she's here. So
You know what? It's tough times. You know what? There's times that are tough. I may have a new grandbaby coming up. I'm just going to use it just to get inside the customers, because when times start getting a little tough, you got to use whatever strategy
The baby,
you can.
it's hot out here. We got to get the baby inside. We got to have that. Do you have a changing station? Any of these things going on? Have you changed any diapers yet there, Ed?
oh yeah, all over it.
Let me just all over it. Let me tell you, the first diaper I ever changed, I got it all over everything. The walls, the crib, I got it everywhere.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's not the best part of a little baby, but it's, you know, I guess it comes with the territory.
Yeah, it comes. And I have 3 daughters of my own. Drive Safe Dave has one. So yeah, very boy, there's something special about that daughter. Congrats to you for certain. And I promise you, Dave opened it up with it. It will be a heartbreaker. So she'll be a heartbreaker many times, over everything. Not just when she gets married and all of that stuff. I'm talking about when she falls down, when she runs into the table. Anything, it just hurts your heart. When you have a boy, you just don't care. It's just,
Get up. Yeah, you're fine.
Spray
Get up.
Windex on it.
Walk it off. A girl, she comes over and cries, and you puts her, and it's just a boo-boo. You need a Band-Aid, all these things go on.
Hey, so Ed, real quick for you. So talk to me. You're the son of Big Ed Burns, but just named Ed Burns, right?
Yep.
Is there brothers?
Yeah, so I'm one of 4. I've got a brother and 2 sisters.
So is his name Ed Burns as well?
No, but my dad's dad is Ed Burns as well, and his dad was Ed Burns. And when a boy comes, he'll be Ed Burns too. So.
Well, so that now there is no doubt who the favorite son is of your dad.
Yeah,
now, we figured that part
well,
out.
that's actually a performance-based position. And it changes from time to time. So
Sure, you move up and down in the slot in the categories. It's like a lottery. Let's see how we did this.
Yeah.
How we did this
I'm
week.
typically floating between 2 and 3.
That's okay.
There's
Hey,
nothing
that's
wrong.
better than 4. I mean, I'm just gonna go. That's
I've
better
been
than-
there. I've been there.
4 gets you out of the wheel. 3 keeps you in there. So yeah, just try to stay in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But again, I think the strategy being 4 is that as times go on, you can start to move your way up a lot quicker. And all of a sudden, maybe dad and mom, they get a little maybe they get a little impressed as they get older as well. All right, here you go. So you have the business. Talk to me. When did you begin in your the transportation, your career with Burns Logistics?
Yeah, so I started about 2 years ago. I had been doing digital marketing before that. But the truth is, Big Ed, my dad, he's an old school freight sales guy. So when we were little kids, he definitely took the approach of bringing his kids into sales calls. So there's a picture of me at about 4 years old standing in the wheel well of a Mack truck on their production floor with my hands up. And we would go on sales calls with him. He would take traffic managers out with their kids, and if they were a similar age, maybe we'd go to like a Flyers game or a Sixers game. And my dad did that with all 4 of us. As I started getting older, went into school, did not want to get into the business because growing up, he would always say, freight gets in your blood, trucking gets in your blood, as he would say it all the time. And So I went to school and wound up falling into digital marketing, and I started a small marketing agency coming out of college. And I was doing that I did that for about 7, 8 years. And while I was doing that, my dad and I started getting closer, like just socially, we started becoming really building our friendship. And so we spent more time together. We would talk about business, talk about growth and opportunities and how to deal with problems. And I would go to some trucking conferences with him. I would travel with him a couple times a year. He'd be there looking for freight opportunities or for new carriers. And I would go looking to see if there was a trucking company who needed a website where truck drivers could come on and apply online easily and do some social media work. This was like in 2015 to 2018, so, and at that time, and even, maybe today, but especially then, I think that was still pretty new to the industry. Trucking companies were just starting to wake up to that need. So I would go with him to these events and really got pretty familiar with the industry, started picking up some clients in trucking, and was able to learn the industry from spending time with him and from working with clients in the space.
All right, biggest learning experience since joining your dad in Burns Logistics business, the family business. What is that?
Yeah.
What has that been? The biggest learning experience for you?
Well, I think the market's been pretty wild the last couple of years. It doesn't seem like this is typical, so it's an interesting time to come into it. What I think I've learned the most is that you gotta stay steady. You gotta continue to, no matter what the market's doing and what's happening externally, internally in the business, and within your own activities, you got to keep doing the same things day in and day out, and not worry too much. Obviously, it's a factor, but if you're doing the right things, you'll still be able to transact business no matter what's happening.
How does that correlate to as you develop these relationships and that communication? How does that correlate to you as you go out and develop these relationships? That calming factor or that factor. How does that correlate?
Yeah, well, the thing we believe everybody can be successful, and that there's plenty of freight for everybody, right? So I think when you come in with that attitude and you mean it and you talk to people, you're able to start to develop the business side of the relationship a little bit stronger, because I think there's a reality in our space that it can be a little adversarial between shippers and carriers sometimes, right? They can be a little at each other's throats, and as soon as a market swings happen, somebody's ready to pounce. Yeah. I don't think that's a good thing, and I don't think it's necessary, but I do think it happens a lot, right? So when you come in and say, hey, I want to help navigate this so it's a little bit more steady, we care about how you do, we get to know the people we work with pretty well, and we're able to develop a good relationship with them. We know about their spouses and their kids and what's going on in their lives, and if somebody's looking to change a job, or we typically get a call pretty early on and are in a position to help people. And to my father's credit, Big Ed's done a great job of building that trust-based operation, and so I've been fortunate to come in and just pick up some of the benefits of that and come into some of these relationships, and there's just a high trust level, but that's taken a long time to build.
Yeah, for sure. Talk to me about this, because and especially for the younger brokers or the younger salesmen that are out there today, that very first call you had to make, and if you can just kind of go back with us in memory, that first call you had that you knew you're going to get in trouble. It was bad news. Maybe you lost the carrier, or maybe that trucking company, and that, whatever that relationship was, it just fell apart. Now you were having service failures, whatever the issue was. Talk to us about that first call, the struggles that maybe you had with it, and what you learned from that.
Yeah, so the first one, we had won a ton of business with a big shipper and a new carrier for us, and it was really exciting. Big deal, right? So the shipper calls, hey, love them. Can you please set up a call, because I want to give them more freight? I'm like, yeah, let's get them more freight. So, so I set up the call with their whole operations team. Hey, we're going to do this call. They want to give you more freight. Okay, we'll be on it. They have like 5, 6 people on it. The shipper says, I think you're a great carrier. Love what you're doing. We want to give you more freight. And I'm sitting there and this is going great. And the carrier says, well, we really appreciate that, but we're actually going to have to give your account back. We can't service it. Dwell times are too long, and we're done.
Ouch. Yeah, that was a nope.
Now, I just wanted to cry. So it was very unexpected, right? But I think when you have a situation like that, those are moments of opportunity, because if your follow-up is good, then you can recover pretty nicely, right? So that was the first deal we had with that shipper. Didn't have too much of a relationship with them at that point, but what it did is it allowed me to follow up and address. If you can address conflict or address a negative situation well and have difficult conversations with people, that's where I think you earn the most trust. And that's where you're going to go from having, a business relationship to having one that's more integrity based and spend more time together. And that's what it did. It allowed us to build the relationship stronger. Now, in the moment and for a couple weeks following, it didn't feel that way. But in the months since then, that's kind of what it turned into.
Yeah, as you find these problems, I mean, that's pretty much what you're talking about, Ed, is you're helping develop solutions for these genuine problems between these two, and that's really what you're basically finding out and creating these solutions in the long term. How is technology helping you do this? How do you as we evolve in the industry, it becomes ever more necessary and ever more present that we, include technology in almost every single thing we do. How are you developing that or adding that to your knowledge base?
Yeah, great question. I think this industry, trucking, is still a little bit behind on the technology curve, and as far as the technology exists. And I remember going to conferences in, call it 2010 to 2015, and people were talking a lot about big data. I was like, well, we need big data. We need big data. And the reality is nobody knew what to do with their big data. They didn't know how to take actionable, they didn't know what to do with it. They had all this data and it didn't mean anything. It was just like a big database. Okay. And I think that is the temptation a lot of times with technology. There's a new technology that comes out and we say, oh, well, we need to include this in our business. Don't know how we're going to do that, but it's going to be great. And I think a lot of companies, especially small to mid-sized carriers, when it comes to technology, I think they need to slow down a little bit and make sure they're using like the most basic tools well, right? Like you can have a really fancy TMS system, but if you don't have email filters set up to get rid of your spam, like you're still wasting a couple hours a day on email, right? So I think there are small things like that that need to get cleaned up just operationally, beyond freight technology, just business technology.
Yeah, hey, Ed, let's talk a little bit about Burns Logistics. As many brokers or logistics companies, we look at a logistics company as a brokerage company. Y'all do something different, though, where you are. You connect the shipper and the carrier together. Talk to me about how that has been, how you made it a business out of that, connecting the two together and kind of, I don't want to say staying out of the way, but kind of moving out of the way and allowing them to create that success.
Yeah, so I think you got to know what you're good at. And we're good at connecting people. We're good at identifying opportunities, connecting the dots, solving problems, and through connecting people, right? So a lot of times a problem can be solved. Going back to technology, when you have an XYZ business problem, it can be solved by talking to so-and-so. And this person can really help you to work through this issue, right? So that's all we do. We connect people, and that's what we've gotten pretty good at. There are, I think, a lot of people in the space who do some side work or a little bit, or they're an independent commission salesperson. What we've done is we just formalized it a little bit more and grown it, and we've gotten to a scale that we're just, we're a little bit bigger than an independent one-person sales agent. We're an agency. We have a couple people. Big Ed and I are doing sales. We're able to do a fair amount of travel and meet a lot of people, and then we have a lot of partnerships. We have a lot of contractors and 1099 people. We were able to collaborate with a lot of other people who do the same thing that we do. Big Ed just kind of built the business. He worked hard and started with one carrier and a couple shippers, and now we represent over 60 fleets.
Wow, it's just it's a neat story, because the first time I met your dad, it was from a on our carrier side. So we as a trucking company, it was weird. Like, what, you're gonna kind of introduce us and maybe stay out of the way. It was a little different approach than what we're used to. Maybe a broker coming in saying, I'll tender you the freight, and Ed was like, no, I want you to have that relationship. I want to kind of be there, to mend that relationship. So I love that approach to it, especially in these days and times. It is a little different. It's
Volatile market.
Yeah, but I like that, because Ed, I don't know about your belief on this, but I do believe that if you want true success, you've got to let that trucking company own that account, right? Have that direct relationship. Have you seen success from those trucking companies when you turn that relationship over to between them and that shipper?
Oh, absolutely. The most success we have are with the fleets who have that understanding and are fine with us, letting go, and then really take ownership of how the account operates. And then I think what really does it is when they're willing to call us and say, hey, I need help. Hey, I'm not hearing back. I sent an email, 2 weeks ago and put in a phone call. Can you help me? Hey, I got a busted trailer and we're not getting reimbursed for it. Can you help us? That's where we're able to really help. And the day-to-day tendering operation, these fleets, they have really capable people sitting in those seats. Let them do what they're good at, and then some of that sales side, taking somebody out to golf, fixing the relationship, making sure you're getting tendered what you're supposed to, asking for a rate increase. Those are the things that you probably don't want your dispatcher making those calls. So that's what we're here for.
Hey, I got a question for you. So you have your dad's approach, and now you have you, a little younger version coming in. We mix them up together on here. What have you, there's some things in this business that don't appear to be changing anytime soon, and those are those relationships, those personal relationships. What have you seen, though, with technology? I mean, was there a struggle, or is there a struggle between, say, too much email and not calling the customer that you've seen, that old and new style, let's just say? Have you seen any, what are some of the differences that maybe you and your dad have in approaches? I'm not saying who's winning the argument, but the approaches in addressing a customer, whether it's a phone call or an email, old school versus the new school that you're bringing in.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest difference between me and my dad is really the hair. Other than that, we're pretty aligned most of the time. I think it's a little give and take. I mean, honestly, there are days where he's in his email and I say, Dad, come pick up the phone and make some calls, right? Because that's where he shines. He's really good at that. On the technology side and bringing in, I love LinkedIn. I love using it to find people, figure out who I need to be talking to. We have pretty good success with that, and we're able to work together on that. So maybe I'm more familiar with the tool and can help him get the contact that he's looking for. But then he's great on the phone. So I think it's a mix. What I'm seeing, though, is that the decision makers really drive it, right? So there's a big difference in a traffic manager who's in his 50s and a traffic manager who's in her 30s, right? Big difference in how they want to be communicated with, big difference in how they make decisions, big difference in whether and how they're willing to be entertained, right? So it's like totally different sales approach, right? So I think we're making our decisions based on that. We gotta figure out what the customer wants and what they're looking for. You know, some people really like to go out and golf, and some people just want to have a 15-minute phone call or a Zoom call, and they don't want to meet you. So you got to be able to work with both of those.
Where are you headed, Ed? Here it is. We're talking. Let's look into the future. Where are we headed for yourself, and what's your goals headed going forward?
Yeah, so our vision is to be the best resource in the world at connecting people in the freight space, so everyone can be successful. So we're kind of still figuring out what that means, working through you know, how does technology fit in our business, and how to make that happen. But we want to grow. We want to continue to establish new relationships, and figure out what other resources can we bring to our carriers and shippers, right? So now we're starting to reach out to, we have more partnerships with consulting firms and technology providers, so that now when we hear about business problems, instead of just empathizing and saying, you know, sorry to hear that, we can offer a solution. I think that's where we're going. If we just want to we want to be the best at connecting people with the solutions they need. So that's what we're focused on here in Q3, and I think by doing that, we'll be able to grow our business.
All right, Ed, it's our close time. We have Double Check Dale waiting at us. Before we leave, though, Drive Safe Dave, give him the rules that we have to do.
Yeah, before you get out of here, we always ask our guests to make sure that they state their name, who they're with, and that you're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. Can you do that?
I sure can. I'm Ed Burns with Burns Logistics. You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
All right.
I appreciate
Thank
you,
you,
Ed.
Ed. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much. Thanks
Thank you,
for what you
gentlemen.
do, and good luck with everything.
Thank you.
All right, there's Ed Burns, and not Big Ed Burns, just Ed Burns. It's
Different hair.
Yeah, different hair. That's Ed, Big Ed with hair. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Good stuff, man. And, you know, interesting take, good, you know, the torch being passed, a great individuals bringing on some much needed information and positive thinking toward the industry.
Yeah, and I thought he had a great point there, too, is that you've got to look at every decision maker, that new person, and that makes the decision as a shipper as their own individual. You know, are they a young group? Are they that older group? What, you know, you've got to listen to them to see what they want to do. If they only want to talk to you on Zoom, quit trying to set meetings with them, because they don't want to meet. They don't want to see you.
They don't want to meet you at tea time. They don't need a tea time.
They don't need it. No, they're good with Zoom. They have other things to do. Perhaps they have a family at home. You know, all of these things. Right. It really has changed business. You know, those relationships that we've learned through COVID, that we can have different kind of relationships without taking time away from our family.
Absolutely, and you never know exactly what's most important in people's lives, and I'll tell you, as we learn that in business, it's nice to focus on that and to understand your customer. I mean, that's pretty much what he's saying. Oh yeah, understanding your customer and creating that and creating that good bond. All
right, we're going to be right back with Double Check Dale. This is Salmon Drive Safe Dave, Sir
Pink.
Rick. Double Check Dale's coming up next.
You're watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. BCB Live covers freight. Here we are now at 21% of record freight being rejected.
News down in Texas. We're going to talk a little bit about this. We had another $1.5 million seizure. If ever there's a time to do a pre or post trip, it's if you're doing something wrong.
Weather, traffic.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to some traffic and weather with Buckle Up Bob. You can kind of see where the visibility can be compromised a little bit. Again, right where that rain is.
And most importantly, safety.
One of the things that we must do is make sure that safety is the number one thing that we focus on.
Going into an intersection yellow is not the way. That's to clear an intersection, not to enter an intersection.
Tune in weekdays from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. You can watch BCB Live through LinkedIn, YouTube, or Facebook. So what are you waiting for? Subscribe today and follow BCB Live.
Hey, welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. You got Double Check Dale here going over a little bit of weather, and not a lot happening currently. We're going to start with the winds. We do see a couple stronger pockets of winds that are blowing a little bit harder through the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma into Kansas. Pretty good strong little wind up there in North Dakota, and then northern Ohio and Indiana. You know, no major gusts. I didn't see any major gusts throughout the day. You know, as we shift into the afternoon a little bit more, the winds up in South Dakota get a little bit stronger. but really no major gusts over 35 up there. Same can be said through the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle, and Kansas. The winds pick up a little bit more, but no major gusts are predicted. This afternoon out in Indiana and Pennsylvania, West Virginia, the winds start to get up a little bit more. But again, we're not seeing any of the major gusts. Now, when we get to 7 o'clock this evening, out in Nebraska, you do see some of the stronger winds. That's northern Nebraska, probably above the I-80 corridor. And so really not a lot going on with the winds today. If we take a look at the thunderstorms, the rain and thunder, currently have a pretty good strong cell up there in South Dakota, North Dakota line. And then also in Indiana, a pretty strong cell right there in northern Indiana. So if you're in that area, that's probably around that 80-94 quarter. Be aware of that. Some stronger winds, potential for some flash flooding to go on with that. As we move through the day, not a lot happening as far as strong storms go. We do have quite a few thunderstorms happening throughout the day, but none of them look to be severe or real strong. And that's the Gulf Coast area is going to see some Indiana, South Dakota, and parts of Colorado see some this afternoon. We get into the evening, we do see a little bit of a stronger storm starting to develop up in Nebraska and through Iowa. And so you want to be aware of that if you're up on I-80 this afternoon in Iowa, Nebraska this early evening. And in the overnight hours, we do see a pretty strong storm developing there in central Indiana. So that's what's going on with precipitation temperature-wise this week. And we'll just take a quick peek at it. It's going to be hot this week, so be aware of that. Know what heat stress feels like, looks like, heat stroke. Get plenty of moisture. Don't overexert yourself. If you're feeling dizzy or you stop sweating, take that break. Call your DM, say, hey, I'm not feeling good, or I need to take a little bit of a rest. Don't push yourself on that. Take this heat very, very seriously. It affects us all differently. Be aware of those signs. With that, we'll take a short break and come back and talk safety.
This segment has been brought to you by Utility ProWear. Utility ProWear manufactures high-quality, ANSI certified, high-visibility apparel for both men and women. Infused with the Teflon fabric protector, Utility ProWear affords the wearer durable clothing with a great fit to afford the highest degree of safety. Get your high-visibility apparel by going to utilityproware.com. Use the code BCB20 at checkout for an exclusive discount.
Hi, this is David Dover, also known as Drive Safe Dave. You are watching BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.
Safety is what you want to talk about, and safety is what you want to be every single day. That's what we're here for. We're here to make it better.
The industry needs BCB Live so that it can find new and inventive ways to bring safety to the forefront for every single person out there on the road.
You got to be prepared to stop, and when you look at that and you understand the situation that you're in, you got to know that it's going to change. You got to expect it to change, and you can't run those lights.
You can watch BCB Live weekdays, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Central Standard Time. So what are you waiting for? Follow and subscribe to BCB Live today.
Welcome back to BCB Live, the safest station in the nation. You bring up a good point when it comes to that heat. As a world-class athlete, I felt dehydrated on Saturday when I was walking home from the office. I'm not sure where the joke is on this right here, Dale.
The world-class athlete. Not that I don't think you're world-class there, Rick, but the athlete part, that's a little...
But I will say that sun was beat down. It was hot. It was humid. It was, there was only so much water. I was worn out. I'm telling you, I could feel a little different. I didn't take a chance. I remembered what you had said earlier that day, and I took it to heart, and I feel like I owe you my life now.
Well, I thank you, Sir Rick. I appreciate that. And it does, I sat out in the sun Sunday afternoon for 3-4 hours, drank plenty of liquids, mostly water. But man, all of a sudden, I just got to the point where it just felt fatigued, just worn out. And so you have to be able to recognize those signs and then act on them, do something about them.
You do. What we got going on this week?
This week we're talking about Operation Safe Driver, which is happening next week, and that's 10th through the 16th. It's where they focus on not only commercial motor vehicles, but also on the general motoring public and what they're looking for. They always focus in on something. The major focus this week is speed, and we talked about that yesterday. But another thing they're looking for is distracted driving. It's really interesting as I look what they're focusing on. It's stuff that we talk about every day on the safety show. I mean, we talk about that speed. We talk about distracted driving. You know, in 2020, distracted driving claimed over 3,100 lives out on the road. I mean, you cannot drive safely unless the task of driving has your full attention. Any non-driving activity you engage in, you know, whether it be on the cell phone or whether it be conversation, fiddling with your radio, is a distraction and increases the risk of crashes. And so you just have to be aware of that and make sure that you don't let yourself get distracted. It is so easy to do out there, but as soon as you recognize that, hey, get your focus back on that big picture situational awareness.
Yeah, it's you know, Dave, talk to us a little bit about what Dale was saying there.
About speed?
Distracted driving.
While going fast. Distracted driving while going fast. You can be,
there you go.
I mean, if you're, I mean, just while you're driving. I mean, not, and as you get distracted, you lose focus of what's going on out there.
And Drive Safe Dave joins us at the show today. Hey, Dave, welcome to BCB Live. We're the safest station. We're not the timeliness. We're not known for our timeliness, but we are known for our safety here. Hey, let's roll into some videos.
All right, first video we got today is called "No Matter When or Where, Stop Means Stop."
So we're going to start out with that rolling stop sign today. And, you know, looks like we're in the middle of the country. And so the driver's probably thinking, well, I can see for miles. Nobody's coming. I don't need to stop. Yes, you do. One, it's the law. Two, it gives you that opportunity to take a better look around. See if, you know, that cyclist or pedestrian or whatever is out there. We're not just looking for cars. A lot of times when we roll the stop sign like this, we just take that quick glance looking for a car, but we don't see the whole picture. You got to stop to get that whole picture.
It's a stop sign, you stop. You know, it's just, it's really that simple. If you don't get to zero, you didn't stop. You got to kind of feel, and you know when you stop, right? Because you stop. You know, you feel a little yep. tug or push or whatever that is. You got to make sure that you continue to follow the rules. If you and I think you all do a great job in saying it's a habit, right? Because if you're not stopping here, where else are you not stopping at?
And I think, you know, so many times we don't recognize the habit we have. Or, you know, you get so familiar with a certain area, you think, well, I've been through here 100 times before. There's never been a vehicle. The 101st time, maybe a car. Maybe a car in the dark with its lights off. So you just got to stop and take that look every time.
Next is space increases, but not enough.
You know, we're looking at this, and I love this technology. It shows us, you know, what the following distance are. So we can see the space starting to increase a little bit. But we really never get to that, you know, point where we need to be. At 55, we should have about 4 seconds, and we never even get to 1.2. But, you know, we look at the speed here, 56, 57 miles an hour posted, well underneath the posted. So it's really dual things. It's speed and space.
Yep, and you're getting there. I mean, you're getting there. Get there a little quicker, though, right?
Yeah.
As we continue to work on these things, we want to make sure that you recognize how close you are. And all you have to do is slow down for a second, a half a mile an hour, put the brakes on for a second, and you're going to be probably the proper distance away from the vehicle in front of you. We want you to have that space because that space is needed when you make a decision. When bad things happen, when the car in front of you stops, you need all the space you can to safely stop.
Yep. And as we look at this, when we got the metrics going across the bottom and we see a red line going up there, and that's where the driver hits the brakes, touches the brakes a little bit, and when we see that, automatically we see the space increase. We go from 0.09 to 0.1, and so I mean it just takes that little bit to increase that space.
Next is speed is nice, need to increase your space.
You know, again, we're talking about, you know, we have the speed, we're managing our speed here, but our space is still too close, and so we just have to recognize that and get that space first and then go back and get the
Hey,
speed.
go back to the previous video on this. Go back to the previous video if you can on this. So here we go. You look at the previous video right now, we're 1.1 seconds away, and look how close the vehicle is, and we're still 1 second away. You've got to recognize here, we're going 55, 56, 57 miles an hour. Go to the current video. Now we're going 70, and yet your space has been lessened, right? I mean, you don't have as much space because you are going 70 miles an hour. You've got to increase that space even more. And Dave, once again, we're not talking about a major change. We're not talking about the driver losing any time. We're just asking, hey, get that space corrected.
Yeah, find a way to react accordingly. Here it is. You're right on the cusp of allowing yourself the moment to react right here. Look, you recognize, hey, look, 1001, 1001, and as you count, as you go into 1001, you know as you went under that sign you're too close, even at this speed. And as you increase the speed, the distance needs to be greater, and they compound. So you've got to make sure you count, make sure you see what's going on. You don't see these metrics in the truck, right? You don't see these. So what you have to see and what you have to understand is the basics, and the basics are count it out, realize how far you are away, and react accordingly.
Yeah, the faster you go, the more space you need.
Of course.
So just, I know it sounds simple, but understand that you saw the previous one. They were closer, but they were going 15 miles an hour slower.
Right.
The faster you go, the more space you need.
This next video is called One Tailgate After Another.
You know, so we got ourselves in a situation where we're tailgating right here. We're too close on it and everything, and you can almost feel that we're just looking for that moment to make a lane change, and we do. And we get from tailgating in the center lane to tailgating in the passing lane. Gentlemen, ladies, drivers, professionals, recognize the situation you're in and back off. Get that space first before we go over there and make that quick lane change and get in the same situation we were just in.
Yeah. I mean, it's just about space, speed and space. It's creating better habits. It's like stopping at the stop sign when nobody's there. It's creating those habits. It's making sure you are stopping. It's this one right here, making sure that you have the space required. It's a habit that folks, America, you know, men, women, anybody out there, you're gonna have to learn the technology, understand the technology, what it's telling you, and using your own technology inside the brain to count it, to make sure you realize that you're just too close. And if anything happens, I'm just telling you, you don't have the room to stop.
Nope.
I'm not saying you won't get lucky and make it out, but you don't have the room. Statistics say it, so why put yourself in a bad situation?
This next video is another instance of being too close, but you're below the posted speed.
You know, again, it just all is going back to that speed and space management. You know, and we're looking at different speeds that the vehicles are going in the distance that we have to have between us. You know, our mind thinks we can calculate that, but you know, the counted out loud is probably the safest measure here to figure that you're just too close here. We're under a second, and so you just have to back off a little bit more. You know, mile an hour or 2 miles an hour, get that space, and then get right back up to the speed you want to drive at. Just don't close that space in.
Yeah, it's so critical what you just said there. And that's the part there that, again, we just have to hear what Dale's saying, is that we're asking you to slow down for a couple of miles an hour, 3, 4, 5, get the space correct, and then go back to 68 miles an hour. You're not going to lose any time. You have to want that space. Okay, I want you to own that space. I want you to have more space in front of you than what you think is required, because it takes a second of reaction time before anything else even happens. You've got to make sure you have that space. Want more space, not less. You have to want more space. You can never have too much space.
Yeah, and what you just said, Rick, is that second of reaction time. What happens if you get distracted for a second and you don't have that reaction time? I mean, it's game over.
Yep. I know you're not on your phones, but if you're on your phone for that half a second, that second, you're texting the word K or OK, and you're not supposed to. We get it. But when you are doing it and you're not, and even though you're not supposed to, a second, you're done.
Yep.
You're done. Allow yourself the space.
Yeah, identify it today. I mean, we talk about it. We're going to continue to talk about it. We're going to continue to talk about this area between the vehicle in front of you and the truck. It is paramount to your success. You have to own that area of real estate. It is up to you. It's not up to the driver in front of you. It's not up to the driver beside you. It's not up to anybody else. It's up to you to own that territory between you and the vehicle in front of you, and do everything you can to create your area of success, because if you don't have it, you won't succeed. If you don't have it, you can't protect life. If you don't create that space between you and the vehicle in front of you, you're endangering them and yourself.
You know, Dale, I know you deal with a lot of technology out there, and I'm curious on this. In some of the platforms that we have out there, is there a way to run a report? And just hear me out here, because, is there a way to run a report that says at over 55 miles an hour, what drivers have the greatest amount of space between them and the vehicle in front of them? Is there a way to say, this vehicle here tends to have 8 seconds, of distance between him and the vehicle, or her and the vehicle in front of her, and this other one only averages, say, 1.8 seconds of following distance on a 500-mile trip?
Yeah, I would say, looking at the technology we have, it's much easier to get that report that says these are the vehicles that consistently follow too close, or have the events where they're too close in, where they're underneath the set parameters, versus the ones that are over it, because we really aren't looking for those. We're not measuring those. So, I'm going to work with Samsara and a couple other of the vendors to see if there is a way to put some settings out there to measure that.
Yeah, the habits of a successful driver, do we as a country, do we as a trucking industry, do we exploit them? Meaning, do we take the habits of successful, safe drivers and share them with the drivers that are, say, struggling?
Yeah. I think
not us speaking, but do we take those drivers that are most successful, and do we put that on them to help, say, with Drive Safe Dave, to help him be a little bit safer? Let me share with you what I'm doing to be successful on the safety side, Dave, and I share that with you, that maybe you're struggling for whatever reason, and my job is to work with you. Do we do that as an industry, I wonder?
Probably not as much as we should. There are some mentors out there that are willing and do share what they've learned and done.
When you think mentorship, I always think of mentorship as a newer driver coming into the industry. Some of these drivers that need mentorship may not be new to the industry at all.
No, but they may be new to BCB, or they may be new to their company, whether it's whoever it is. And so even though they have the experience, you still need a mentorship or somebody to help coach them along a little bit. Say, hey, here's what they expect here. Here's what we do here. Here's what we look at. Here's what's important, the safety aspect of it. And have that older and more experienced driver say, hey, here's what's working for me. But you want to be aware of these things. And so you help set that to where they want to change their habits or change some of the things that they've normally done.
Yeah, but you're saying that, and I guess my question as an industry, I wonder how many of us in this industry do that. How many of us take those drivers that are extremely successful, those that have, say, a report card on the top shelf, right, 90% or more, whatever that is, how you grade a driver on safety, and have them work with those drivers that are underneath. Is there a better way to learn safety than from one of your peers, Drive Safe Dave, as opposed to, say, yourself as a safety manager, Dale, or myself as a safety manager? Would we learn better from one of our peers?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and there are very many instances throughout society today that groups of individuals that work together as teams help themselves and get better at what they do, whether it be anything from, let's just say, Weight Watchers group, or I'm just saying anytime you can group in some people trying to help one another, I think the group as a whole benefits.
Because it creates a little bit of teamwork as well, right?
Absolutely, and it opens up, some genuine conversation, and it allows for people to be honest with one another. I'll tell you that as we do this and as we recognize it and we watch these videos, for me personally, being in denial of my own actions, because we all compensate for, if I see somebody else doing the negative behavior, if I witness them doing it, then I'm more inclined to identify it in myself if I see them doing it wrong. So I'm able, and I think these videos do a great, they resonate deeply with most professional drivers as we show them, because we may not necessarily see it in ourselves, but if we watch these videos and we recognize, hey, ran the stop sign, that dude, there's no doubt in my mind but we tell ourselves we did stop. But if we see that and these things happen and we identify those negative behaviors in somebody else, we can see those in ourselves. So I think these pictures and these videos resonate well, and I do like the idea that we continue to add them, but I don't know the genuine answer to your question. I would like to know how groups would do that.
Well, so with safety, to me, it's with anything that we do in this industry, is that you've got to take action. and that even means a safety manager, a safety director, a trucking company. You've got to take action if you want to make change. You can sit and talk about it like we do on this side over here, and nothing's really going to change. It's the action that says, you know what, this is what we're going to do. And yes, it's a little bit more work. Yes, it at first. But once you create and find ways to create success amongst those groups, and every group may take a different kind of, every group's not created equal. Some groups you got to do something a little bit different to create success within them. But as a group, as a nation of truck drivers, we've got to find a way to be more safe, to be safer. We have got to find a way to change things up. We've got to find a way to bring new drivers into our industry, safer drivers into our industry. We've got to find a way to identify those drivers that just don't want to make a change and get them out of our industry. It's what we've got to do. We've got to own this industry and own it to that degree that says, you know what, if you're going to drive, we're not asking, we would love to have perfection, but we know it's impossible because we're humans behind the wheel. But what we do want is actions that when you notice something's wrong, when you notice that you're faulty, that you back off. We want you to increase that space, decrease that speed, for the sake of your fuel economy, for the sake of your business. We want you as a safety manager, as a trucking company, as a dispatcher, as a hiring manager, to truly understand that it takes all of us to create success in one driver on the safety side. And what are we actually doing to make them safer? Not talking. What are we doing? What are we doing to make sure that you make it home safe and that you allow my family to get home safe? What are we doing? That, Dave and Dale, to me, as an industry, is what we've got to do. We've got to do things. Do. Action. We don't have a choice if we want to make a difference. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day you've given us. We ask that you continue to watch over all of us. You find ways, Lord, for us to act upon the action of safety, to act upon that want, and find a way to make each and every one of our companies successful, to help our drivers to be more successful, more safe. Lord, that's what we want them, is just to be back home with their families, back home to us. Help us find a way to have the courage to create action to make our companies the safest companies out there. It's in your Son's name we pray. Amen. Everybody, we'll be back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We have any special guests tomorrow? Hulk Hogan, anybody?
I think Hulk
Hogan again?
Again.
Yeah, Hulk Hogan again, followed by, I would say the Macho Man. I don't think he's around anymore. Is he?
Kabuki.
Macho Man.
Andre
Who was your guy? Hold on a second. Who was your guy?
Kabuki.
Kabuki, what, did he make a noise or anything?
He get the claw.
Oh, is he the claw?
Yeah.
We had on here Jim Hacksaw Dugan. He was on the show before.
Yeah.
Oh! Whatever that was. Did you have a wrestler?
Andre the Giant.
Andre the Giant.
Oh, yeah.
That dude was a big man. The Giant. Do you all remember? Not Andre the Giant, but the Giant that wrestled. He was our center at Wichita State University, Shockers. Paul White. He was our center.
Wow.
Yeah, and I remember this, and real quick, I remember the coach, Scott Thompson at the time. I don't even know I remember this right now. Scott Thompson talking about, he's bringing a team of speed, and here comes the Giant. Like, doesn't even make sense. This dude's 7'6" and huge. There's nothing fast about Paul White or the Giant, but a heck of a wrestler. Great dude. Just an amazing person. Listen, make sure that you stay safe today. What's your WWF person? Who's your superhero? Be that person today and be a trucking safety hero. That's what I like to see. We'll see you tomorrow on BCB Live, the safest station in the nation.